Welcome to the Career Change Podcast, where you'll discover the frank and practical advice and resources that are already proven to work in the real world when it comes to changing careers or figuring out what business is right for you when you are a smart but likely also stuck, overwhelmed, or overthinking person in your mid-30s, your 40s, your mid-50s. I'm your host, Rikke, Hansen, a career change advisor, entrepreneur, and former corporate HR professional with over 15 years experience of helping thousands of people just like you identify or create careers or businesses that are both meaningful and future-proof. Welcome home. Hey, it's Rikke here. Welcome to episode 47. Stop thinking like an employee if you want to change careers after 35. Now, there are so many ways that I see smart people over 35 sabotage their career change. And you know, part of the reason why I started the Career Change Podcast is that I really want to help you get out of your own way, but also expand your vision of what's really possible for you, expand your horizon of the options that you have as an aspiring career changer or as an aspiring business owner. Because what I often observe is that you, my dear listener, as a mid-career professional over 35, is that you often get in your own way because of lack of relevant or up-to-date information about how the world of work really works. And also because you bought into myths about yourself or the world that are just not true. So I'm really here to bust those myths and to update you with a lot of things around how career change works, how the world of work works. And really today, there's one very specific part of the world of work that I want to really talk about. And I want to do that because interesting enough, you might have noticed and you might feel like the world at large is just changing so much and can almost seem more uncertain by the day. So one of the developments you might not have picked up on is that there are a lot of developments in the world of work that are really to your advantage as an aspiring career changer or as an aspiring entrepreneur or business owner over 35. However, if you have always worked for someone else, if you've always been an employee, you've always worked in the same industry or profession or company or type of work culture, you've always been in your own little bubble, it can be really hard for you to see. So maybe all you just notice is all the uncertainty and all of the bad news, but there are so many great things happening. But one of the reasons why you might not be able to see how the world of work is actually changing for the better is because as a result of having worked for someone else for so many years, you've developed what I call an employee mindset. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But it really means that you think like an employee, which is a really outdated and unhelpful way of approaching the world of work, and especially of approaching your career change. And just a note about the title of this episode. Even though I say stop thinking like an employee, this episode is still valid to you. Even if you don't want to start your own business and you still want to, find another career, another job, it is equally valid for you. So please keep listening whether you want to start a business or not. And also what I just want to say, it's really important when it comes to the career change process that you stay really open-minded as to what is the best vehicle for you to get the kind of work life that you want. So stay open-minded. Now, in this particular episode, I want to give you some really concrete examples of how you are likely, maybe even right now, this very moment, sabotaging your career change because of this employee mindset. And then at the same time, I also want to give you some really concrete pointers as for what to do instead. Sounds good? Let's do it. Let me get straight into the 3 things I want to cover in this particular episode. And as always, if there's anything you want me to go deeper with and explain more and really do a deep dive with, then let me know. Come over to the careerchangepodcast.com, sign up for the newsletter there, and then you can let me know what kind of things you want me to go deeper with in coming episodes. This is all requested by you, my dear subscribers over at the careerchangepodcast.com. Now, the first thing we'll talk about is to drop the employee mindset and think like an owner instead. The second thing we'll talk about is don't look at job ads too early or at all. Figure out what you really want first. And then number 3, don't be intimidated by or rely solely on gatekeepers, they are going the way of the dodo, i.e., they're facing extinction. Build and collaborate with your own network on new friends instead. So let's go straight into number 1. Drop the employee mindset and think like an owner instead. Now, let me just define the employee mindset here. If, my dear listener, you spend the last, 7, 10, 20 years working for someone else as an employee, you likely view the world of work as a series of predefined job boxes where you must match up with certain qualifications, with certain professions, where you are required to be a square peg in a square hole. If you want to work somewhere, you want to follow rules, you need to follow regulations set by others. You, as the employee, you are at the mercy of managers and bosses or gatekeepers like recruiters and job ad criteria tickers. And what that means that your experience of power, your experience of being able to do something, of being in charge of something is to a very large extent, has been experienced to a very large extent by you as power being out of your hands. Things are not up to you, right? Power is in the hands of managers or companies or gatekeepers. You just need to follow rules and job boxes, right? Or fit into job boxes if you want to get anywhere. So what that means is that so far in your work life, your experience of the world of work, your experience has very much been that the power, things have been out of your hands. Things are not up to you. They're up to others if you need want to change something. And my friend, that is a really dangerous place to start your career change. That is not very conducive to having a powerful and confident career change if that's how you look at the world. So maybe if you're feeling deflated or not very confident and you feel like so many things out of your hands, it's not because of the way the world is working now. It's because of this employee mindset that you developed as a result of being in that little part of the working world that you've stayed in for the last 10 or 20 years. Now, here's the bad news. Yes, there are indeed a lot of areas still of the world of work where it still operates like that, with that employee mindset. And you might right now be working in an arena, in a part of the working world where people still have this employee mindset and where it still works like that. The good news is you're likely listening to the Career Change podcast because you no longer want to work in that part of the working world, in that profession, that industry you're currently in. Or you don't want to move into another part of the working world where it works like that. And the good news is the world of work is changing fast. And there are so many arenas now where it doesn't work like that anymore. And even in arenas where it traditionally did, things are changing. The world of work is changing so fast. It really has. I mean, I've been in a career change advisor for over 18 years and things have changed slowly. But especially since the pandemic, things have just gone into turbo speed in terms of how many of the old structures are breaking down and advantages are really for the career changers and for people of a certain age. So things are changing fast, both inside of corporate and outside of corporates. I don't need to tell you, we already know that things are getting a lot more zigzaggy, less defined. There are no more obvious career ladders. There are no more jobs for life. But also what's really changing is that being an employee is no longer the safe way of going about things, of only hoping that one employer is going to keep you employed and you keep you, happy and make you stay there. That's a very outdated and also it was a very short-term relationship. I want you to think about it. What's really unsustainable now is potentially putting all of your eggs in one basket, only having one employer to take care of you versus having 5 billion potential clients on the internet being able to give you work. All right? Now, there's a lot to say about these changes. I could go on and on, but I just want to give you a little bit of a taster. But what I really wanted to get here is that a lot of the changes that are happening both in the arena slowly where you might be right now, but also in the overall world of work at large. They're to your advantage, and they should really motivate you to get cracking rather than staying stuck and feeling like, oh my God, you have to stay with this employer who can take care of you. They do not give a flying fart, right? You really need to learn to take care of yourself. Because if you've always been employed by someone else, if you've always had a job, then you likely have the employee mindset. And it's really important that we get you out of there and instead get you thinking differently. The working world is no longer somewhere where you have to fit yourself into a predefined box. And then if you want to do something else, then you have to go from one clearly defined job or career or profession box to another, where you have to follow strict rules and regulations. You have to train for years or decades, in order to fit yourself into another predefined job or career or profession box. No wonder you're feeling deflated, right? Please listen. It does not have to work like that anymore. Stop thinking like an employee. Also, another biggie that is likely against you if you have the employee mindset is that you are used to seek permission. You are used to wait to be picked, wait for permission before doing something. Have you noticed? You might right now be waiting for some kind of permission. Here you go. Here's your permission slip. Please don't wait any longer. Nobody in the employee mindset world is going to give you permission. They're just going to hope you're going to wait to ask them for it. Please don't wait any longer. Then in the employee mindset world, there's also the whole gatekeeper thing. The world of work you think is guarded by gatekeepers who are looking to keep people like you who might be wanting to sneak into where you don't belong. They're there to keep you out. You're not qualified. You're not right here. If any of that rings a bell, then yes, you have the employee mindset. So what you've likely noticed is that you keep getting in your own way. Can you relate to any of this? So let me ask you this. If you already diagnose yourself as having this employee mindset, how do you actually feel right now about the world of work and about going out there into the bigger world of work to try to do something else? You likely, because the employee mindset is working on you, you likely feel really scared, intimidated, and maybe not terribly confident. You feel like you're at the mercy of others, right? Gatekeepers, middlemen, recruiters, job ad criteria tickers. You kind of feel like the power is outside of you, right? That others are in charge. And what that means when you have the employee mindset is that you are in this position where the power balance is just skewed away from you, right? This is so important for you to be aware of. You're used to others doing the thinking for you, others making decisions for you. You give your power away to others. Managers, companies, HRs, recruiters, hiring managers, gatekeepers, etc., right? We need you to stop doing that. So let me get clear. Let me give you the antidote to that so you can get up to speed with the ever-evolving world of work that is really becoming a place that is to your advantage as an experienced career changer over 35. Right? You've already got so much going for you. So the solution is stop thinking like an employee and instead start thinking like an owner. You own your career. You own your work life, whether you decide to hire yourself out in a job, whether you decide to start your own company and taking out a number of clients, or whether you do a portfolio career, no matter what you choose to do next, you want to own it. You want to stop waiting for permission. You want to stop giving your power away, and you want to stop relying on gatekeepers. You want to take 100% ownership and responsibility. You want to be the decision maker, the owner. You could also say think like an entrepreneur, but I know not everybody is that comfortable with that word. So I like to say think like an owner. You make things happen. You do not want to wait for permission. The world of work is really changing. We're very much moving into this era of the personal enterprise. We are all kind of becoming a company of one, in this new world of work. And it's going to, already now, and that's something that's going to become the norm over time, is that people in the world of work are going to be going through periods of entrepreneurial ventures, periods of freelance work, periods of jobs, periods of side gigs, periods of micro careers, portfolio careers, versus just this idea of one fixed jobs for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Timing varies in different parts of the world, but it's really important that you start adopting this attitude of ownership. You're the owner of a business of one, whether you choose to do portfolio careers or entrepreneurial ventures. It's really important that you have your mix right, okay? Because if not, it's just way too dangerous, all right? A little bit like I say, the old-fashioned way of looking at the world is having one employer taking care of you. Then what happens when they don't any longer? You're screwed, right? Versus instead having access to over 5 billion potential clients on the internet that you can interact with in a variety of ways. It's so important that you start adopting this attitude of ownership and that you stop this employee mindset where you give away your power to crumbling structures that were not built to help you change careers or start a business anyway. All right? So my friend, as you know, I always like saying on the Career Change podcast, question your assumptions. And in this case, question your assumptions about how the world of work works, right? You have so much more power than you are giving to yourself right now with this employee mindset. And also just think about it. The whole concept of employee-employer, this whole child-adult relationship is so dangerous. You want to leave that behind. It's a very unhelpful concept, right? You want to think of yourself as a company of one. We are all companies of one now. And just ask yourself, where am I giving my power away? And instead, how could I approach my career change like an owner? As I say, whether you want to start your own company in the sense of word that you probably think about now, that's irrelevant. You want to think about yourself as an owner of a company of one and act accordingly. Don't ever think about yourself as just an employee, even if you're looking for a job. So important. Now, here's my challenge to you. You should not want to live in a world of work that is interpreted to you by others. You should want to be in charge. So how much time right now are you actually investing in learning about this new world of work and all of the advantages that are coming your way? Now, actually, when I work with clients, one of the things that I do is I actually take them through a training series of all of the things that are changing in the world of work and to their advantage. It's one of the things that I do to help them increase their confidence. And that's one of the things I really recommend that you also do for yourself, that you actually invest time in getting to know this new world of work, read broadly, follow all of the developments. Because if all you're doing right now is just watching the news, then you might just be worried about unemployment or certain changes. That is just a small section of the world. There's so many great developments all over the world. Don't let the news dictate how you feel about things. They always focus on the right now and the isolated things. You want to have a much broader helicopter view picture of the world of work. Okay? So empower yourself, my friend. Drop the employee mindset and think like an owner instead. All right? Let's go on to point number 2, which is really, really important. Don't look at job ads too early or at all. Figure out what you really want first. Now, here is one easy way to know if you have an employee mindset. When it comes to how you approach the career change process, what I see is that the majority of mid-career professionals, they really start their career change process off on the wrong foot because they have this employee mindset. So what they do is they start the career change process by focusing squarely on what they don't have. And then they beat themselves up and they give their power away. And here is one of the most damaging ways that I see people starting their career change process. They start the career change process by looking at job ads. Does that ring a bell? Can you relate to that? Do you also look at job ads? Now, let me ask you a very important question. How does that actually make you feel when you look at job ads? Probably not terribly well. It probably make you feel like you have lack, like you have nothing to offer, right? That you're not qualified, that is not the right thing for you, na-di-da-di-da. Looking at job ads, it's not a good place to start. And please stop it right now. It is not a good place to start, but it's such a classic mistake to make when you have the employee mindset. Why? Because you are used to having to ask for permission, right? And only put up with what seems to be available. See how you fit into pre-existing boxes. That world is not the only world anymore. And if it doesn't even make you feel good, then why are you doing it, right? Maybe because, again, you're not aware of the other options. Now, here is why it is so dangerous to look at job ads at the beginning or early on in your career change process. It's because rather than setting yourself up for an empowering career transition where you are in charge and where you own the process, what you're doing when you look at job ads, you are literally instead starting by focusing on what you don't have and how other people think that the world works. And that, my friends, is not a nice or confident boosting or empowering place to start. So for a lot of you out there who email me saying that you don't feel very confident, this is probably one of the reasons for it. All right? Here's the thing. Looking at job ads really early on in the process, or at all, often is that it makes you focus on what you don't have from the very beginning. Don't do it. Let me repeat this. Don't start your career change process by looking at job ads. Don't do it too early on in the process. This is such a massive self-sabotage issue for so many people. It is such a red flag. Please listen to me when I say this. You have so many more options and opportunities than what you've been taught as an employee or someone who's grown up in a world that used to be very different to the way it works now. Most people over 35 I've consistently noticed when it comes to career change, they are only aware of 10% of the options available to them because they behave like an employee and they only look for what seems to be on offer, right? When you go out there and you speak to recruiters or you look at job ads, you are literally choosing to only look at what others say is available. You are kind of forcing yourself from one box into another. You are listening to what the overlords of the workplace are saying, so to say. That is not a good place to start or do early if you're looking for a meaningful change. And you should also always, as part of your career change process, consider self-employment too, as a matter of broadening the scope, even if you end up not going that way. But one of the things that I'm really big on, let's keep your option as broad as possible from the beginning in order for you not to go down the employee mindset route, because it is not a nice place to start with. Have you noticed? Looking at job ads as a starting point is one of the most unfuture-proofing things you can do as well, because you're kind of buying into this belief that's not true anymore in a large part of the world, is that there's only, do you remember that Jobs A to Z book you might have seen when you grew up about, here are the jobs from A to Z that's available, or what your career counselor might have told you. You know, that's a thing of the past. And it's a really narrow-minded way of looking at the world, only to choose from a very tiny set of jobs available. There are so many more options to you now in the world of work. Also, I think I made my point, but I also just want to say, once and if you ever get to the stage where you actually do need to look at job ads, here's what I want you to know. And this is really important from a confidence point of view. Remember, job ads, all they are is HR's wish list to Father Christmas. I used to work in HR. I used to write those ads. They are literally job ads. They're literally written. They're HR's wish list to Father Christmas, or they're the hiring manager's wish list to Father Christmas. Let me tell you this, a lot of companies, a lot of managers, even a lot of HR people don't actually know how to write a good job description, because most managers that they're writing it for don't really know what they want, and it's changing. And you probably know this think about it, even in your current industry, profession that you might be in right now, that you might have been in for years. Even when you look at job ads for that, you might feel lack and you might feel like you don't have it. And here's an important thing. They're actually made to make you feel bad, right? And here's also an important thing, especially if you are a woman. Research shows that women will not apply for anything unless they tick all of the boxes, or at least like 85 to 90% plus. And that's even within their existing profession that they might have a lot of experience in. So just think about what you're doing to yourself, especially as a woman, when you look at job ads for something new. Just don't do it. Repeat after me. Don't start the career change process by looking at job ads or do it too early. It is not a good place to start. Because here's the thing. If you start your career change process by looking at job ads, you risk immediate intimidation, immediate dream crushing. And that's not a good place to start. You feel empty-handed, you've got nothing to offer, and it means you're literally behaving like an employee. We already know by now that's not the way to go. Okay? What I really want you to think about, changing careers, no matter what it's going to end up being, whether it's another series of jobs, another career, your own business, what we really want to do, we want to take the opportunity of turning your career change into something where you have a lot more control over your work destiny. So take that learning opportunity instead of straight away giving your power away. And the antidote is that you start your career change process by figuring out what you actually want and what you already have to build on that you can offer. It's so important. Get clear on what you want first. Then at a later stage, once you're clear on that, then you can start looking at job ads and look at what might make sense and where you can sell yourself. Or even better, you don't look at job ads at all and you look a lot more at networking. And maybe you don't even need job ads if you're looking to start your own company or you're looking to be self-employed, or then you will look at them in a very, very different manner. But don't do it too early. That is so important. Don't do it before you got a pretty good idea about what you actually want. Be in charge as long as you can. All right? Don't look at job ads too early or at all. Figure out what you really want first. Again, back to that first point about thinking like an owner. Yes, you might need to interact with them later on, but you will come from a position of power, of confidence, of knowing what you want and what you have to offer related to that. Okay? As opposed to just feeling like you have nothing to offer. Point made. Let's move into point number 3. Don't be intimidated by or rely solely on gatekeepers. They are going the way of the dodo, i.e., they're facing extinction. Build and collaborate with your own network of new friends instead. Now, a key skill for the new economy, a key skill for the new world of work is collaboration and the ability to build networks in the arenas you want to move into or broaden into. You really want to look at collaboration, at building networks across borders, whether they're professional or international borders. And that's the beautiful thing about the world now. We have these scalable digital platforms that allow you to do that. And this ability to build network across borders and using scalable platforms, that really is the kryptonite that is eroding the power of the old world gatekeepers. And that is bloody fantastic news, if you ask me. This is a development I have really noticed, especially over the last 3-4 years, that has just exploded, that these old gatekeepers are a dying breed. And thanks to technology, to opening of the world globally with these networks that allow you to connect directly with people in different industries, that is just, oh my God, that is a development that is such good news for career changes and entrepreneurs over 35, because the gatekeepers of the old world of work are a dying breed. They're really going the way of the dodo. You know, if you're over 35, you might have grown up in a very different world of work and might not have noticed how much it's changed. And this is especially the case if you have been in environments like law or finance or corporates. You know, you might very much have grown up in a world where it's very much about where you went to school, where you went to uni, or in a lot of places, like in the UK, what your parents could afford to buy you in terms of type of accent or school, or who your parents knew. Professions, they very much relied on gatekeepers, right? Specific recruiters or hiring managers or industry or professional organizations to keep out the riffraffs of the newbies or the less qualified. And depending on where you work or what your experience of the world of work has been, you might think that the whole gatekeeper thing still very much works like that. And it does in some places. However, like I said, those are likely not the places you want to enter. But in other places, it is really changing dramatically. Thankfully, the world of work in terms of gatekeepers has really been changing for decades. And COVID-19, the whole pandemic, really sped up a lot of those kind of changes in terms of opening up industries that, opening up the kimono, so to say, of industries and professions and arenas of work that used to be more closed. It's a lot easier now and more enjoyable to network, get your foot in the door. There's a lot more diversity, a changing economy, a global picture. The war for talent has actually meant there is a lot fewer ivory towers. Now it's a lot more like an online open marketplace. A lot of these developments are to your advantage, especially thanks to a lot of the online platforms where people can collaborate across borders, whether it's professional or international borders. I don't want to delve too much into the technology piece on this in this episode. If you want me to go deeper in that, let me know. I'm over at thecareerchangepodcast.com. You can connect with me over there. Let me know if you want to go more deeper into a lot of these platforms, technologies that allow this. But what I just want to say is that the power of traditional gatekeepers, those scary gatekeepers that you might in your mind be afraid of right now, they are already going the way of the dodo. So stop letting them intimidate you and think that your only way into another dream job or another dream career or your own business is via all of these gatekeepers. It likely won't be, especially not if you're willing to do the antidote and to do how the world works now, which is being willing to build and collaborate with your own network of friends instead, because that's really what it takes. Like I said, it's a key skill for this new economy, this new world of work, that you learn how to network well, you learn how to collaborate well, and you should want to. That is really the most enjoyable way to do business, to do careers now, is with a network of people you actually want to hang out with, that you have passions, interests, and values in common with. Because if not, all you have to going for you is going back to a world of gatekeepers. Wouldn't you rather make friends and network and collaborate with them instead of having to suck up to gatekeepers who might not want to let you in? The world is changing so much. Take advantage, my friend. Now, I want to be brief about this whole thing about networking. I do recommend, listen or re-listen to episode 20 of the Career Change podcast. It's called Network Like a Career Changer, where I go in depth about this. But there are a couple of things I just want to mention here in point 3 because they're important. I know a lot of you, when I say networking, you might have a block around that word because the way that worked in the old world of work, or for people with the employee mindset, it seemed really sleazy and really horrible. So I really want you to reframe this and come up with a new definition for the new world of work. Let me tell you how it works now. You want to start by establishing a new baseline. And the new baseline is that nowadays, networking is not transactional. It's collaborative. Networking is not something you put up with or endure. Rather, it's something you do because you want to connect and collaborate with others. Things have changed. The old school networking used to be the equivalent of a nightclub at 4 a.m., right? Desperate, immediate transaction, that whole kind of thing. Nowadays is very different. It's enjoyable. It's collaborative. You are looking not for a quick one-night stand. You are looking for lifelong friendship potential, collaboration potential. The way I really encourage you to think about this, what you really want to do as part of your career change, you want to build a network of friends, real people you actually want to hang out with and enjoy collaborating with. This is important. Remember, as humans, we are biologically wired to connect. Humans like each other, right? That's what you want to think about. And also, the advantage you have of being a career changer, being a wannabe entrepreneur, is that you, when it comes to your career change, you're not going to network like someone who hates their job, right? That's not what we're talking about here. You are going to build this new group of friends, which is how I really think about it, because you're connecting around an interest or a passion, i.e., you're going to connect with people you actually want to connect with because you have that interest in common. Versus right now, if you want a job or career you hate, when you network around something you hate. Now it's different, right? I assume you want to change careers or start a business or start a portfolio career because you want something more meaningful that matters to you. That means that the type of people you're now going to connect with and network with and collaborate with, you have things in common with them that you enjoy, that you find meaningful. Do you see what a massive difference that is? Don't underestimate the power of this. And again, in this new world of work, there are literally a lot of areas that used to be really hard and close to the public that have been blown wide open by the pandemic. So if you go down at a niche level, at a community level, and get really clear about where do the people hang out, that are people you want to connect with, what are the niche level, and go there, it's going to make all the difference. You really want to identify and use the tools to identify and connect with new friends who are also going to double as a network to really make your career change happen. Please do listen to episode 20 of the Career Change podcast because it's going to give you the details for how to do this. I don't want to repeat that here, but I just want to remind you, you do have a choice. You do not have to put up with these gatekeepers and make them scare you. You have option, because the choice is really, if you don't want to network, then all you're going to do is be at the mercy of gatekeepers. Wouldn't you rather use the internet, use your natural abilities and biological need to connect with people and make friends? That's really what this is all about. So my friend, please hear me. Don't be intimidated by or rely solely on gatekeepers. They really are going the way of the dodo. They're facing extinction. You want to build and collaborate with your own network of new friends instead. If you want me to do an episode specifically about how this whole gatekeeper thing is changing, do let me know as well. All right. So let's wrap up. Number 1, drop the employee mindset and think like an owner instead. Number 2, don't look at job ads too early or at all. Figure out what you really want first. And number 3, don't be intimidated by or rely solely on gatekeepers. They are going the way of the dodo, facing extinction. Build and collaborate with your own network of new friends instead. Let me just ask you, don't you just feel a lot more empowered already and in charge? You own your career change, my friends. Stop giving your power away. You really apply everything you learn in this episode, and immediately you will feel so much better about the way you approach your career change, whether that's looking for different jobs, different careers, or starting your own business. You, my friend, are in charge. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. I've got you. If you want more help and advice, I'll see you over at thecareerchangepodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening.